The first type of pattern is a player's routines. This is basically when a player has some sort of standard stack of movement at the table. For example, putting a chip on their cards immediately after they check them, or something they do more than 70% of the time at specific moments. Routines are most likely going to be found pre-flop when a player checks their cards, and they're absolutely gold mines of information because the players who use routines often think they are safe and aren't giving up any information. Their routine is a false sense of protection because embedded inside of those routines are deviations that we're going to learn how to read, predict, and exploit. Now, before we jump into an example, I want to explain conceptually how we analyze and look at routines. If you've read any pop culture book on body language, you might have heard the term clusters, meaning you are looking for clusters of behaviors that support a read. What those authors often leave out is order. One of the reasons order is going to be so important at the table is because the order at which events happen often give you insight into the order of a player's thoughts. When looking at a player's routines, we do something called a string analysis, which involves coding the order of certain events and the time in between them. This is an example of a standard string of events that happen specifically in the hands while a player is checking their cards. However, changes aren't only occurring in the hands. Behavior is changing on multiple areas of the body at the same time, which is why you're going to have multiple strings which create what we call a thread. Embedded inside these threads are massive insights into how a player thinks about certain portions of their range. The trick is learning to cut through the noise and only focus on what's actually important. Let me show you the most classic example of this and something that's part of so many players' routines: putting a chip or some sort of card protector on their cards. So normally this behavior is to prevent a dealer from accidentally mucking your cards. However, if you do it, stop, because I have yet to see a player who doesn't give up something with this type of behavior, and I want to take this opportunity to explain that there are levels and patterns. If you show an average poker player this behavior and ask them to describe what is happening here, they will often say a player is putting a chip on their cards. This is not what's happening. See, when it comes to players putting chips on cards, they often do it at different speeds, styles, and moments with certain portions of their range. We're going to use this chip placement as an anchor for identifying the behaviors around it and create a string. Here, I'm going to give you some time to look at the strings and differences in these two examples so you get a better understanding of what I mean. Take a close look at each and try to see the difference. If you were paying attention, you will notice there is a clear difference between how this player hands move in each example. There is a lot more intentionality in the clip on the right. She has kings, so she knows she wants to play and she knows what she wants to do. Therefore, the string is much more condensed. More behaviors are executed in a shorter and more fluid manner because of that intention. When she has a weaker hand, her routine almost reflects contemplation and indecision. Also, this is a more subtle example. Some players will literally put a chip on their cards in every hand, but just completely forget to do it on the top of their range. In week 3, we will get you to spot, predict, and exploit routines in ways that are truly insane. For now, let's take a look at another pattern.